What the Tech is sponsored by Shutterstock.com. With over 28 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. For 25% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code WhatTheTech1213.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. We are back. We had a little vacation. We were off for a week. Paul was, I don't even know what happened to you. I mean, you were just really sick.
Yep.
Like 12 days sick.
I got sick. You know, it was funny. I actually, if you go back and listen to Windows Weekly, the last one, I started coughing in the show, and that was the start of me getting sick. And that night I was going to go into Boston for the Xbox One launch, and I got so sick so quick. I couldn't. There was no way I was leaving the house. And then the day that the Xbox One came out, I tweeted a couple times like, "Oh man, I'm actually really sick." And people are like, "Oh, you have the Xbox One flu?" You know, it's like, no, I pretty much have the real flu.
You were getting really annoyed at that, right?
Yeah.
Because we were talking like that day. We were supposed to do a show on Tuesday, but you were sick, so we're like, you know what? Let's reschedule it. Maybe we'll do it Friday. And I was reading your Twitter feed throughout the week, and every time you wrote something, someone wrote, "Got the Xbox
no, I'm really
flu?
sick."
Got the Xbox flu. Like one day I could understand, you want to take the day to yourself and play the game, but you were like in bad shape.
No, I was sick. Yeah, I was really sick.
How'd you make out through Thanksgiving? Were you like just suffering the entire time?
Thanksgiving was okay. We didn't go anywhere. That was helpful. Thanksgiving morning we do this thing. In fact, this was the 10th or 11th year in a row that we do it. But a group of friends and I get together at this bar a couple towns over, and we do like a bagel and beer kind of thing. And I went, but I didn't really drink because I was just wrecked.
I was actually concerned for you, Paul, because I've known you for about 4 years now, and I've never seen you like that out of it.
Yeah, no, I know. I know, it's weird. Like I've got stuff at work and I know I write in and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry this thing's late, whatever it is. I'm really sick." And it's like, "Oh, hope you feel better, Paul." And you can tell they're like, "Yeah, I hope you get over your imaginary illness." And it's like, "No, I'm kind of on death's doorstep here." I don't know. It was kind of strange.
So where we last left off, I don't think the Xbox had come out yet, had it?
Nope.
Okay, so to kind of sum it up.
So that was like 10.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2 weeks ago that you and I talked, but I mean, yeah, right. Sorry. It's been about 10, 11 days.
Okay, so I think where we left it off was, were they going to be able to sell 1 million units? And yes, they did. They sold over 1 million units worldwide. Currently, the PlayStation, I believe they sold 2.1 million units.
Yeah, they just announced that yesterday.
Altogether.
Or this morning, maybe.
That's very important. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
Actually, it's impressive because, the 1 million figure was just a couple of markets in North America. And since then, they've gone on sale. I don't know if it's all over Europe or if it's just the UK or whatever, but they've been adding markets. And so they've been doing very, very well. Microsoft has not updated their sales figure, but they also sold 1 million units in the first 24 hours. Although, the Xbox One launched in considerably more markets than did the PlayStation 4. So it's kind of hard to know how to take that. But I think they're going to be pretty even.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be pretty close. But your overall impression, I mean, you've used this thing for over a week now, and you've been, you put out a phenomenal review of it and a detailed, guide to using the Xbox on your website, winsuperside.com for anybody that wants to go check it out. Give me your overall, likes, dislikes. Is this what you expected? Were you expecting a little more, a little less?
Yeah, it is what I expected, I guess. I mean, obviously you do these kind of inevitable comparisons with the PlayStation 4 and then, of course, with the Xbox 360. And I think the one thing I can say about both those consoles, the new ones, PS4 and Xbox One, is that multitasking capability is a big deal. The ability to actually do more than one thing at a time is, in fact, a profound change, and that's huge. And
is it because we have kind of grown to expect that, because even on like in simplest of ways, you could do multitasking on an iPhone and an iPad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, and you could do very basic, and I don't even want to call it multitasking, but there were things that could occur. Your friend Bob is online. You would get kind of a status thing up on the Xbox 360, that kind of thing. You could bring up what was called the Xbox Guide overlay on top of the game or whatever you were doing and do certain things. Certain settings you could impact. But a lot of the stuff you had to do, you had to actually quit out of the game you were doing, because the Xbox 360 and all of the consoles from that generation and going back in time were designed very specifically to harness every ounce of power that the device could give to do the one thing you were doing and provide a consistent experience. And, I think the thing that's changed over the intervening 8 years, 7 years, whatever, is we've gotten used to doing lots of different things at the same time, or at least switching seamlessly between them. It doesn't matter if an iPhone really multitasks. I mean,
it's easy to go in and out of applications.
You can bring up a little menu that shows you all the running apps. You can switch to the other app, and you can do that. There's no lag. It just happens immediately. And
for whatever reason, Paul, I know a lot of people that got both, and I made the, I guess, smart decision, not so smart decision. I sold both of mine. Really? I got it. I had someone that wanted to buy it, and I sold it because I know I'm going to get this for Christmas. So I don't need it right now. And I made it. I made a nice couple bucks. Yeah, most people don't. There's not too many titles to play. I actually, one of the games that I play all the time, Paul, is called the Upgrade game. That's the only game that I play. Have you ever played it?
I think I have.
That's the only game that I play. I plug in my console, and I sit there for 2 hours, and I do updates, and I shut it off.
Oh, I see.
I play the update game.
So the new consoles aren't like that. I mean, although, if you bought it on day one, there was that kind of day one update that both had to do. But by the way, that happened very quickly for both of them. I don't think that was an issue.
Sure. I mean, it's expected, though. I mean, they're going to release it. I would be surprised if there wasn't one.
Anyone who's used an Xbox 360 knows, aside from the performance problems, and by performance problems, I mean the moving in and out of every app, how awful that is. The one experience you always have on the 360 is you go to play a game and it says, oh, there's an update for this game. You have to update it before you can play. And it's not that it takes a long time, but you have to sit there and wait for it to happen. You go to run, you're like, I haven't run Amazon Instant Video in a while. I'm going to rent a movie or something. You got to run an update every time. And it's like this whack-a-mole thing almost on the Xbox 360. It's really disheartening. And so the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One both probably are updating those apps and games as much, but you don't see it because it happens in the background. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but so far at least on the games that I've been playing, I haven't ever actually seen you must update this game before you can proceed message. Whereas on Call of Duty Ghosts, for example, which I played extensively on the 360 in the weeks before I got the Xbox One, I saw that screen several times just on that one game, because it came out pretty buggy. So it's, I think that stuff is a big deal. And that's something you'll get. If you're a PlayStation guy or if you're an Xbox guy and you upgrade to that, whatever console you prefer, you're going to get that. And I think that's the single biggest thing. I think that's a big deal.
So one thing that I was totally wrong about, from my experience and people around me, I was saying how people are going to choose a side and they're going to get either an Xbox or a PlayStation. Yeah. It could be possible that the people around me are just spending money like crazy, but almost everybody that I know that plays games bought both. Really? They got the PlayStation and the Xbox, and I was so surprised, and almost every one of them has said the same exact thing to me. If you are a hardcore gamer, you are going to be really happy with the PlayStation. But if you want an entertainment device, which the Xbox is an all-in-one entertainment device, there's nothing compared to it.
I agree with those statements, other than the fact that I actually think if you're a hardcore gamer, you would also be happy with the Xbox One. I think the PlayStation is so minimal in a way, and I don't just mean the way the UI looks and works, but just what's available on it, that it's a little off-putting. And I think the situation is going to get a lot better over time, of course, as more games appear. But when you turn on an Xbox One, there's all this stuff. There's so much more stuff to do right out of the box. And I think that's a big deal, and for more people. But, like I wrote in my review, and the truth is, if you have any iota of doubt about whether you need either one of these things, or if you're actually wondering, I might want to buy one of these in the future and I'm not sure which one that I want, don't buy either one of these things right now. They're both way too expensive. They're both going to be much less expensive over time. And there's nothing. The performance stuff is big. Multitasking is huge, but it's not like $500 huge. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, a 360 in a Roku, or 360 by itself, frankly, or a PlayStation 3 in a Roku, would basically give you access to all the stuff.
I mean, even just a Roku. If you're not really into the gaming, a Roku could do it.
And it's under $100. Under $100.
Under $100, yeah. Has the HDMI bypass free? Because this is something that we've always discussed where, you make fun of me a little bit because I like the Google TV just for that reason, because it has a pass-through. Has it changed your opinion on the pass-through, or you still think it's a little gimmicky?
The Xbox One has put me in kind of a curious place because obviously I want this thing in here with me where I can use it regularly. And it's going to stay in here with me so I can use it regularly because I intend basically daily for the next week or two to fill out the body of articles that I want to write about this thing. I'll write about each of the apps and each of the things that you can do with it. I'm not going to really review games. That's not really the point. But I mean, just the stuff that's going on that's kind of non-gaming. And also, by the way, as it improves over time, because I think the stuff will be added to it. But that makes it hard to test the pass-through stuff, at least with my TV system. So I did hook it up to the cable briefly just to see it in action. I connected the One Guide to it, made sure that stuff all worked, and it does. You could pass through anything that's HDMI based, and so you could pass through a PS4, for example, if you wanted to do that, although I think that's kind of a minimal use case or whatever. But because that TV stuff is so interesting and gives you that thing we've talked about, the ability to have just the one input that you go through to do everything.
Yeah.
You kind of want to put it out in the living room, right? You want to put it where the cable set-top box is, and that's where you want this box. I mean, ideally, there would be a version of this box that was there and here, but that's $1,000. I mean, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's kind of a tough thing. So I think for testing purposes for the foreseeable, month or whatever, probably just going to leave it here. But, I guess it comes down to something, it's going to change over time. But for me right now, like the games that get played the most on this console, I could play on any console. Call of Duty Ghosts and Battlefield 4. They're available everywhere. Ghost looks exactly the same on every system. Battlefield 4, I think there might be some improvements if you're on a new console, but by and large, let's just say the gameplay roughly identical.
I mean, nobody's buying these systems right now for the games. I mean, that's not happening.
It's impossible because there are no games.
Yeah.
I mean, the single player experience in that Killzone game on the PS4 looks pretty good. That's an exclusive on that console. I don't happen to like Rise, that Son of Rome game, on the Xbox One. Some people do love it. Some people like things like Forza. I'm not really that into racing games. Not Dead Alive. Dead Rising?
Dead 3? Rising, yeah.
Those games have never done much for me. And then there are the things that I do like that, again, they're just everywhere. So Call of Duty Ghosts and Battlefield, I can play those anywhere. Nothing special there. Madden or basketball, the NBA 2K14 game or whatever. Those things are kind of available.
I've been reading like people's reviews of like the sports games on the Xbox, and people are just ranting and raving that they're getting technical fouls when they curse.
That's awesome.
I think that is, and I don't know why they're so upset about that. I think that is brilliant. That is such an awesome feature that they're getting technical fouls when they curse. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's beautiful. The other thing, by the way, about the Xbox One it's weird. I sort of noticed it, but I didn't click with me what it meant. Was somebody had gotten one and had written me and said, on the Xbox 360, you have this notion of controller 1, controller 2, controller 3, controller 4. And, controller 1 kind of controls everything. It's the master, the master or whatever. And that system doesn't exist in Xbox One. And, how do we know which controller is which and yada, yada, yada. I kind of looked into it, and what I found out was that they don't do that anymore. When you get in front of the Xbox, it's really kind of cool. You can walk in the room and not, you don't yell, but you just say Xbox on. Didn't come on. That's good. I'm actually surprised.
You should yell. Why don't you yell at it?
No, it's okay. And it just comes on, and that the voice control stuff works really well. But the other thing that happens, it's really cool, and it won't happen with me right now because I'm looking this way, and the Kinect camera is actually off to the side. But if I were to swivel about 45 degrees and look at it, it would see me and sign me in instantly. Like it would know that it was me. If my son walks in the room and he stands next to me, it will see him and sign him in instantly.
That's really cool.
The other thing that it does, though, is that it has this understanding that on the back of the controller, there's this kind of IR thing going on. I'm actually not sure if it's IR or whatever technology, but that the Kinect is keeping track of. It doesn't care what controller you use, and it will know if I hand my controller to Mark, that now that is Mark signed in to that using that controller, and whatever he does will apply to him.
Oh, that's amazing,
And
actually.
so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what controller is what controller. You could swap them around all day long. You are always you. So now it's not controller 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Paul, Mark, Andrew, whoever happens to be in the room. That's amazing.
That is amazing,
I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to explain. It takes me a while to get through it, but it's one of those things like when you sort of realize what it's doing, you're like, this is fairly profound. It's a big capability.
And you know what? It's still the first version of this. So think about what the
I know.
Xbox 360 was when
Yeah.
it came out compared to what it was at the end of its life.
This is the buggy, crappy version.
Yeah, like that.
You know?
That's the crazy part. So
Yeah.
in 5 years, who
Yep.
knows what this thing is going to be capable of doing?
Yeah.
It's actually a really cool concept. I've decided I'm probably just gonna get the Xbox. I'm not gonna get the PS4. But something that's my wife brought this up to me, and it was funny that she kind of got this. She goes, when you were telling me about the PlayStation 3, you told me, well, we should get it because it's a Blu-ray player and we could watch our Blu-rays on there, and that was kind of the reason why we got it. She said, you're doing the same thing for the Xbox, and you're not doing it for the PlayStation. The Blu-ray thing is not, you're selling the Xbox like you sold the PS3 to me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of reversed, right? The role has kind of reversed where even if you're not a gamer, you were buying a PlayStation because it was probably the best Blu-ray player at the time, and it was the most affordable Blu-ray player at the time.
That was actually the big deal. When that thing shipped, or soon thereafter, I guess, it was the cheapest way to get a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah, it was a great Blu-ray player. It still is.
It was expensive for what it was, but
it's still a phenomenal Blu-ray player that gets updated. But now the Xbox is that media consumption device that people that, they're not comfortable with gaming, but they might get this and plug it in their living room and let it sit there. It's interesting. It's a role reversal in a way.
The cost is an issue because for kind of the more casual types, the Netflix, Hulu Plus, all that's all available on other devices, and it's very inexpensive. There's also the kind of hidden cost of any Xbox 360 and Xbox One, where you need to have an Xbox Live Gold subscription to do that stuff, which I think stinks. I mean, that's kind of a tough one. But the price is tough. I think that's the first step, and I think that's the first hurdle that a lot of people aren't going to get over, and that's fine, because if you look at this and you say, it's a lot of money, I don't know, don't worry about it then. You don't need this.
Yeah, wait a year.
Wait until next year, whatever. It's going to get a lot better. The software, the firmware, whatever it is.
What do you think of the form factor, the size?
It's fine. I mean, it is bigger than the PS4. Sorry. I think it looks like a piece of stereo equipment. I think it's fine. I think in the context of someone's HDTV stereo box setup, it's not going to look out of place. Oddly enough, I mean, the one thing I would say is that the Xbox controller, when it's lit up, this thing is a very bright white light, and there's a similar kind of a button on the front of this. It's actually the power button, so if you want to hit it, it would just come on. When you're in a dark room watching a movie, you don't want like a bright beacon of light shining out at you from the thing. That's a little unfortunate. And who knows? Maybe there's some way to dim that. I don't even know.
Verizon changed their cable boxes from like this orange, an orange LED to this bright, super white LED, where I have to at times unplug the cable box when I'm sleeping because the thing is just bright. I mean, the entire room is lit with this.
I have a fan
thing
that has lights on it, that to indicate how hard the wind's blowing or something. And at night in the summer when you get this thing on, same thing. I just put duct tape on top of it.
Yeah. We have a lot to talk about, Paul, but before we continue, we should talk about our sponsor and thank our sponsor, and that's Shutterstock. I want to thank Shutterstock for supporting the show, and they have a phenomenal deal for our audience. First of all, they have 28 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vector files, and video clips to choose from. So if you are creating a website, a publication, an ad for some sort of ad program that you're running, even video, you could choose from their service because they have 28 million stuff to do. Another great part of their service is that they have many contributors to Shutterstock that are professional photographers and artists. So it's not, John Bob from down the block that's snapping a photo and just uploading it, and now he's trying to make a couple bucks off it. These are established people that do this for a living, and you're going to get high quality when you're using their service. Also, they're adding 20,000 images every day. So if there's something you don't see, guess what? You could go and sign up tomorrow or the following day, and they might have it for you. A good chance they might. We use it all the time whenever we're doing some sort of presentation. Josh Coleman from J Maverick Design, he's in our chat room. He's also part of the GFK Network. He runs a web design company, and he's constantly using them because he signs up. And when he's creating a package for one of his clients, he's able to just go in there and grab whatever he's looking for and use it. There's different packages depending on what you get. You start off with 25 downloads a day with a standard subscription. And the cool part is you can download any size you want, as many times as you want, and it doesn't constantly add up. As long as it's the same image, it counts as your one image. So here's the great deal they have for our audience. You get 25% off on a new account when you go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code WhatTheTech1213. That's WhatTheTech1213. And you get 25% off. I think it's a phenomenal deal. I'm a big supporter of Shutterstock. They support us. They've been with us for over a year now. I want to thank Shutterstock for supporting us throughout 2013 and hopefully throughout 2014. And I appreciate all you guys using our code when you sign up there. It's a big help for us. Shutterstock.com, offer code WhatTheTech1213. You get 25% off your entire purchase on a new account. I want to thank Shutterstock for supporting What the Tech and, of course, the GFK Network. Paul, we have a lot to talk about today. Mm-hmm. I think someone's at my door.
It's probably the Android police.
I don't know. Yeah, they heard I'm about to go into this conversation. I got a new phone. I finally made the decision. This took me a while to decide. I ended up going with the LG G2.
Before you get to the phone itself,
okay,
how did you decide on that one?
Well, here's the thing. I have a Windows phone already. So I'm in the environment. It's right here. So I know what this is like. Unfortunately, for me, I love the phone. I love the camera on the 1020, but the app experience is limited. So for me, I feel like I like to play around a little bit, and I like to download a lot of apps. So yeah. I passed on getting a 1020 or the 929 when it comes out for Verizon. Yeah. So that was out. I'm not going to get an iPhone because I'm already engulfed in the iOS experience. Everywhere I look, I'm in the iOS experience, and I don't want it as my everyday phone. My wife has an iPhone. I have the new iPad. I have another iPad. It's all over the place. I feel like I'm being suffocated with iPhones.
No, I respect that.
So I want to be in the Android experience because I want to experience all the ecosystems. So I have a Windows phone. I have an iOS device.
Let me ask you. I'm sorry to keep.
Go ahead.
If you could have gotten a Nexus phone that worked on Verizon, would you have gone in that direction?
The Nexus 5, 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have gotten the Nexus 5, but that even has some problems. And I've been doing a lot of research, and a lot of people are complaining about the Nexus 5, about the battery life and the camera. They're saying that the camera's not that great.
Camera's very plain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with...
By the way, I think the Nexus 5 is the LG.
It's the same exact phone. There's some components, the camera's different on this. I think this one has a 13 megapixel camera.
Oh. Okay.
The camera's a little better.
The Nexus 5 is just an 8, isn't it?
Nexus 5 is an 8 megapixel, yeah.
Yeah.
This it also has a bigger battery. It's is it a 3,000? Yeah, 3,000 milliamp battery. So the thing is gigantic. First thing, I've been using this thing... I've done a couple tests. I got it last week. One day I just went and just did everything on this thing. I went and took a bunch of video and took a bunch of pictures and went on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So I did what a power user would do. The battery is solid. I mean, I was blown away by it. Standby mode, this thing has been unplugged. I haven't made any phone calls today. And I'm at 100%. I unplugged it around 10 o'clock. And it's been sitting since 10 o'clock and it's at 100%. So when it's idle, it's phenomenal.
when you're not using it, it's perfect.
I mean, even when you're using it, I was very impressed. But my view is going to be a little skewed because I'm going from a 2-year-old phone. So yeah, of course the battery life is going to be better. The display, the screen is stunning. It's super fast. It's Qualcomm, not Qualcomm. Yeah, it is Qualcomm. Snapdragon 800 processor is the fastest and newest processor on the market. And it's just an overall beautiful device. Now, what I don't
Why
like
do you
about
hate it
this
so
thing,
much?
I hate the camera. I hate the camera. It is just embarrassing. The camera is just utterly embarrassing to take a photo with. Now, at times, it actually functions the way it's supposed to. So right now, I don't know if I could do this. Let's see if this.
It's like saying that someone is a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, at times, Uncle Greg is
Sometimes
behaving.
you can't even tell.
So right now, well, it's starting to do it now. So there's a lot of shutter lag with the camera.
Yeah.
A ton of shutter. I don't know if you guys could.
It's funny how big that screen looks to me.
But do you see it? I mean,
Because how big is the screen? Is that just 5?
5.2. 5.2
That looks
inch.
big. So is that not the same screen as the Nexus 5?
Same exact screen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
For
same
some
screen.
reason,
So let me.
it looks really big in your hands there.
Let me see if I could do this here. So here it is. So I mean, it's super fast. The thing is really impressive, but the camera is. I was mortified because I went to a wedding on Sunday, and I'm trying to take a picture, and there was not one picture that was not blurry.
Bring up the camera app if you can. I'm just curious if it has the same
Okay,
inscrutable.
so I
user
do want to
interface.
say I've rooted this thing and I put a new recovery on it. I haven't put a new ROM, but I did put a custom camera app that a guy, I guess it was off of another LG phone that has the updated LG whatever that's supposed to fix the problem. It fixed it somewhat. I mean, it's better. But it's still atrocious. But when it focuses in, the pictures are stunning. So let me pull up the camera app. Let's do this. This is very awkward the way I'm doing this. Okay,
Yeah,
so
no,
here's
it's
the camera.
completely different.
So when you go to mode, this is the ugly screen that pops up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is hideous.
Jeez.
Let's go back. So you got the settings. So you could do.
Is that a printer icon?
No, that would be really funny if there was a printer icon.
I think there was. Go back to that previous screen, the really ugly one. Look on the bottom left.
Oh, there is that a printer? Let's see. Normal record. No. It changes it from a tile to a scrolling interface to take a photo. Because that's what you want. That's what you want to do when you need to capture an image. So scrolling.
Yes.
I'm going to see if I have a picture here. So I've been taking hundreds of photos with this thing, trying to figure out, what works, what doesn't. If you are a little bit more advanced with, exposure and setting the ISO, you could get beautiful photos with this thing. But if you set this thing on auto and you try to snap a picture, it is just, I mean, it's almost like you're drunk and you're trying to attempt to take a photo. It's that bad. I mean, how is it on the Nexus 5? Did you notice that there's shutter like when you're viewing it through, I guess, the screen and you're moving it? Is it blurry? Is it kind of slow?
So I didn't notice shutter lag, although let me look at this right now. The big problem, well, a lot of problems actually with the camera. So the pictures it takes aren't great. The app itself, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, I can just show it to you. It has advanced options. That's so weird. Looks like there's an ass in there.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you showing me?
That's my finger ass. All right, so
You were Snapchatting people.
it's so weird. So I guess there's no real good way to show this, but anyway, there are 3 buttons over here, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean that's a standard. And I mean that's how my phone was.
But I don't understand how you would know how to do anything on this.
Yeah.
And it appears. So let me just take a picture and make sure I'm not imagining this. But, yeah, the picture's a 4:3. There's no obvious way to change that.
So this has a 16:9.
I'm not saying it. By the way, somewhere it's probably there. I find this thing to be inscrutable. And and again, I can't show you this, but when you hit one of the buttons, it comes up with this. You can kind of see that kind of circular menu there. It's just a bunch of icons that you have no idea. It's like, geez, like what is it? You kind of have to tap on them to figure out what's going on. And I just think this is a lousy interface.
Yeah, the interface is
the pictures
bad.
are bland.
I'm loading up a couple pictures here for me to show that I took yesterday. I should have, fixed this before. That would have made the most sense to do. But none of these were taken on automatic.
Right.
Because the auto feature is just awful, and I had to manually set the exposure and set all that. But I did get a couple decent pictures here. Okay, so I'll do this. Let's go to camera 5. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is of the studio. I had to set the exposure all the way down to take the photo. It's a little dark. You can see around the mixer, the console. It's a little blurry. It's not really focused in on that. Here it is without the without me manipulating the settings, and this is auto. You can see. Do you see how it's overexposed?
See how it's kind of hazy?
Every photo's hazy. That's the problem.
That's what this camera does as well.
Here's another photo I took. I had to drop all the exposure again to kind of get like a decent shot. I zoomed in a little bit of the keyboard so you can see, what it's like. The focus is pretty good when you take a photo like that. Now, I took a photo of my dog. This is the best photo I was able to get.
Yeah, and actually, that's a nice photo.
Yeah, and the room, surprisingly, in that photo, it is poorly lit. It's a dark room.
Right.
It does some weird stuff in the background where it's trying to determine the brightness of the room, and it overexposes everything. So if you're in a darker room, it's a little better. If you're in a room that has like proper lighting, it's a disaster. But I spent all day yesterday rooting this thing and putting a new ROM and not a ROM, but I put a new recovery on it so I could install this new camera setting. I just don't understand because this is my first non-Google experience phone, and this thing is really bad.
So, what kind of stuff does LG destroy Android with?
It's not so much LG; it's more Verizon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
is it stuff that you can't delete?
Yes, that's the problem.
That is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is just wrong.
And here's a weird thing. Okay, so I got it on Amazon, and I don't know if they do it a little different for Amazon. This phone through Verizon's website is $200 or whatever it was before. I think they have a sale now, but let's say $199. On Amazon's website, it was $40. And it came loaded with the Kindle app, the Amazon App Store, Amazon Shopping Cart, Amazon Music.
They have like a phone experience that they can put on their phones.
And guess what? You could not uninstall it.
Oh, jeez.
So really? I actually had to root the thing the first day
just get rid
and
of it.
install. I installed like a recovery tool where I could uninstall it, and I installed
you have to
everything.
root something. I mean, to me, that's just a failure. This is
I mean, it is weird. So there's a couple other weird stuff that they do. There's a lot of freemium apps on here. There's a caller ID app, and that's a big part of this phone where if people call you, you could see who it is without having them on your phone, and potentially a photo loads. So this is to kind of work. I guess it's a comparison with Google's now doing that. They have a Google caller ID thing where, like, I got a call from Citibank, and I had a Citibank image pop up on my screen when I was running KitKat on my other phone. So it's kind of like that. But what they don't tell you is that it's a 10-day trial, and after that, they want to bill you $299 a month to use the service. And there was like 2 or 3 services like that on this thing preloaded that you think you get used to, and you're like, okay, that's not a bad feature. I can see who's calling me, and then they want to charge you $299 a month.
Yeah.
Just really weird. And I compared it to buying like a computer when the bloatware was awful, like Windows Vista, where they were packing this thing with a ton of bloatware, but you can never uninstall it.
For all the problems that Windows Phone has, one of the things I've always really liked is that there is nothing you can put on there as a wireless carrier that the user can't get rid of. And one of the first things I do is remove most of the AT&T apps because I don't want most of it.
It's disappointing because overall it's a phenomenal phone other than the camera bug. Now, my complaint with the camera is that it's not that it cannot take a good photo, it's that it's unstable. You don't know what kind of photo you're going to get every time you pick it up and you try to snap a picture. And that really doesn't go a long way. Imagine if you bought a Canon camera and every time you took a photo it was a different setting because it was on automatic. That's my biggest problem with it. But, hopefully LG is going to fix the problem with the next release. Another problem is that it's running 4.2, so it's 2 generations behind in Android. and this phone just came out in September.
Yeah, that's another problem with Android. I can't understand that.
Yeah, so now I'm like a lunatic. I mean, this is not normal. I'm sitting there and I'm researching ROMs. You know, what kind of ROM to put on this thing and what kind of application to install and does this ROM work and should I put 4.3 or should I put 4.4? This is not a problem that anybody should have. If you have a phone and you just bought it, it should come with the latest and the greatest operating system. I just don't understand that. I really, it baffles me that these manufacturers are allowed and the carriers are allowed to kind of say, well, you know what, screw you, we're not going to update you. But we are going to update the phone that's 2 years old now, and you're just going to have to wait till March.
Right.
There's no rhyme or reason for anything. It's bizarre, and I don't understand how it happens. KitKat only has penetrated 1% of the Android market right now. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's not available for too many phones. And the funny thing is, because I've been buying Nexus devices over the past, couple of weeks, my Nexus 4 and Nexus 7 have both gotten KitKat, right? So the Nexus devices kind of all have it. But you don't see, I mean, it is obviously happening, but you don't see it on too many non-Nexus devices yet. It's amazing how slow that is.
But even on the Nexus device, Paul, when I had my Google Nexus, because I'm on Verizon, I was last to get the update to whatever, 4.3 or 4.2, whatever it was. At that point, I had already rooted, and I didn't care. I was just downloading the app. But even on that, there's fragmentation. There's no consistency. And this is why when people tell me, what should I buy? For the simplest of reasons, I tell people, get the iPhone. And if you want to play around a little bit, get a Windows phone. Because I think it's cool. I think it's a very unique interface. I think it looks totally different than anything else. And it's a beautiful operating system. But you're going to get an update when it comes.
Well, I mean, if you are on AT&T or T-Mobile, I would imagine the Nexus devices you can get directly from Google are generally pretty good. I would say, the Nexus 5 is the first one that I actually, kind of like. I mean, the camera isn't great, but
I think
I wish it was a better.
My phone just told me to go to hell, and it just shut down. It's very upset with me.
Nice.
But it's bizarre. And again, this is the problem with Android. There is no one phone to get on Android. I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no holy grail of Android phones. Every one of them does something a little better than the other one. Samsung has some beautiful features with the S4, but it lacks some other stuff. And LG, this is probably the best phone LG's ever put out, in my opinion. For, I guess, a normal person, it would be perfectly fine. But because taking photos is my thing, I like to use the camera. That's a major feature for me. So far, I'm not happy with it.
Have you spent any time at all with a 1020 or a 1520?
Yeah, no, I've used a 1020 I loved it.
I can't go back. Once it's actually kind of a problem for other kinds of phones because now that I've used those devices, like using a non Lumia phone, or some phone that doesn't have that kind of quality camera, it's very difficult to get over that hump.
Again, the app experience on Windows Phone is so disappointing to me because this thing could become the number 2 phone, in my opinion, because of its unique experience. There's nothing else like it, and they're beautiful phones. The operating system is a solid operating system, but it's just developers are not developing the applications that people want.
Well, they are just slowly.
It's slowly. I mean, listen, we were ranting. We were ranting and raving about Instagram the other day, and for some people it's not a big deal, but for others, if they're doing Instagram, it's a major application to use. And everybody said there's a whatever, I forgot 6 image, or I forgot the name. There's a third-party Instagram app.
Yeah, it's like 610.
6, yeah. But that's besides the point.
So Instagram is out now.
Now it is, yeah. But it shouldn't be left to a third party to make the Instagram app. Instagram should be making the app. And
Microsoft
now they are.
has had weird issues with that stuff. But the other problem, though, is Instagram is there now, and Vine is there now, and eventually whatever that app is that is supposedly the reason that you're not using this platform will be there, and it's not really going to change anything. I mean, I think there are some positive signs for Windows Phone this year with the low-end devices selling really well, like the 520, 521. The market share in some markets, including important markets in Europe and South America, Central America, and some other places, is great. I mean, it's a bit early to say, I think it's going to be number 2. I think they're going to beat the iPhone or anything like that. But any time, I think the first step needs to be double-digit market share. That needs to be the bar.
So what happened, Paul? Because when Windows Phone came out, it was developers. They were really pushing it for the developers, but was it the lack of support from Microsoft, or was it the lack of interest to kind of invest in the platform from the developer?
Yeah. Microsoft used to be able to just show up with a new platform and it was assured of success just because it was from Microsoft. The original Windows Phone platform, Windows Phone 7, used a very simple and very elegant Silverlight-based API for apps and then used XNA for games. People understood this stuff very well. And people who did write those early apps, a lot of times you'd see these really nice apps. But it's also very different from Objective-C and Xcode and all the stuff you do on the iPhone, and very different from Java and Eclipse or whatever you might use for try to Android apps. The problem for Windows Phone is that when they went to Windows Phone 8, the platform changed completely. So they dropped the Silverlight XNA stuff and they moved to something that was very similar to what they were doing with Windows 8, which still hasn't taken off with the developers. So they have this kind of WinPRT, we might call it, for the phone-based API. It's like Silverlight. It's kind of .NET looking. It's not actually .NET, but it's got that kind of look to it. And Microsoft's developer tools are great, but that's a tough transition to make because the people who had embraced the platform now had to learn how to do everything over again. The APIs had all completely changed.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of an unfortunate circumstance. It's hopefully not going to happen again in that major of a fashion, but obviously the APIs will improve and the developer tools improve and all that kind of stuff, and we'll see how it goes. But I have to say, this year has been really good for Windows Phone, and given how the previous couple of years went, honestly, I have to say, this year has been much more positive than I ever thought it would be because it wasn't going.
I mean, people, this is the same thing that we saw with the last. Which update was it where people were kind of crapping on Windows Phone and all of a sudden it became the greatest phone in the world? What do you remember that? It was weird.
Well,
like all these people were like, oh, this is awful. Nobody wants to use this, and then there was nothing in the update. It was just psychologically these bloggers and journalists decided that they absolutely loved this thing.
Yeah, I think it was 7.5. I mean,
7.5. Yeah.
That was the one where now Windows Phone has got it, and you saw a little bit of that Windows Phone 8. Now it's fine. And anyone who says that kind of stuff clearly wasn't using the system before because it really didn't change that much. But
no, I think having a $99 device like this, really makes it accessible to people that they don't want to sign a contract and they want to be able to get a new phone every year.
In this world of super expensive gadgets, and we talked about the Xbox One is $500, an entry level iPad $500, everything is $500. A Nokia tablet $500, Surface 2 it's $449, but it's roughly $500.
$500, okay.
It's like we're throwing around $500 like we're all made of money, like the economy's going gangbusters and we all live in mansions or something. But
look at me, I'm the Great Gatsby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the rest of you are living or whatever, but this stuff is expensive, and it amazes me how frequently I get friction from people when I try to explain how expensive this stuff is. So here you get this device that was like $99 at its most expensive. Actually, you can get the thing, I think, on Microsoft Store for $49 or $59 right now, whatever it is.
I was $39. I saw it for $39 the other day.
Yeah, that is the tech bargain of the year. That thing has gotten to the point where it's so inexpensive, the micro SD card you're going to buy to make it have 64 gigs of storage is going to cost more than the phone. And whether you need a second phone or just an MP3 player, media device, something to watch little videos on and play games on, something to give to a child, whatever the scenario is, GPS, free GPS for your car. This thing is such a deal. It is.
Paul,
so
I replaced
awesome.
my iPod Touch with this. I'm no
Yeah.
longer using my iPod Touch. When I still do not like to use my phone as my MP3 player because I feel that I'm killing the battery. And the last thing that I want to happen is that I'm out somewhere and the battery's dead and now I don't have a battery. Nobody could get in touch with me because I'm so important. People need to constantly get in touch with me. So
Yes.
I'm running around with, this in my pocket and I have my earbuds on and I'm listening to my podcasts. Not me, my own podcast, but podcasts that I like. On this, and I'm carrying both devices, and it's small enough, it goes in my pocket, and I don't think about it. I mean, for something like that, $39, $40 is phenomenal. And you get all the apps. So if you have a kid and they want to play these apps too, I mean, something like this, it's disposable. You're not spending $300.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, right. And you could make a case, even for things like, I'm 8 months away from being able to replace my phone on an upgrade. A new iPhone, if I bought it, was going to cost $550 or something. Here's this thing you can get for under $100, well under $100, and then make it through the 8 months. And by the way, at the end of that 8 months, you may be like, hey, actually, Windows Phone is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get a 1020 or 1520 or whatever's new at the time.
Paul, with all the buying and Amazon talk, I think this is a good chance for us to talk about, for me to talk about, our Amazon affiliate link. Listen, we're always updating stuff in the studio, and it ends up costing a lot of money. We rarely ask for donations. We have a donate page, but we never talk about it. I guess now I did. Oh, is that how I'm getting you? What we do instead is we try to get you guys to use our Amazon affiliate link. When you buy something, it's not costing you extra. We get a tiny little percentage from each sale, and it really helps us, build it up in the piggy bank. And whenever we need to get a new camera, we need to get a new Skype machine, which we're getting close to doing that, we just use that and we buy it. And it's a huge help. A lot of you guys are using it. Something that I've noticed, Paul, which is unbelievable, a lot of people are buying that Dell Windows 8 tablet.
Why is that annoying?
No, not annoying. I'm amazed. I'm surprised.
Oh. That's a good one too. I mean,
almost every week somebody's buying one, and that's one of the devices that I'm shocked to see so many people buying because it's kind of off the radar when you compare it to the Surface and when you compare it to the Nokia. But for $299, it's not bad, and it's full Windows. I'm actually a fan of that device. I think I'm going to pick one up for the holidays. But if you're buying stuff on Amazon, use our link. You go to gfq.co/Amazon, or you can click on that Amazon link on the side of the video if you're watching live. If you're watching it on GFQ, there's a little thing in the show notes also. So gfq.co/Amazon. I really appreciate everybody that's getting it. I just want to chime in there and just give it a plug right now. Did you see that Prime Air for Amazon, Paul?
Yes.
The drones.
That was the stupidest frickin' thing I've ever seen in my life. And that guy is a genius.
Well, you know why he did it on Monday, right?
Of course.
I mean, it was Cyber Monday. He had so much publicity, so much press around his website. It was brilliant to talk about it. But
brilliant.
The concept behind it.
That is the dumbest idea that has ever been foisted on the public ever. And the fact that everyone is not just talking about it, but discussing it as if it is a rational possibility is amazing.
First of all, in urban neighborhoods and in city neighborhoods, this thing is not going to be able to just land easily. You know how many power lines are going everywhere? You know how many buildings there are? Do you know how many obstacles there are in the way?
Listen, I'm sorry. These things are going to be shot out of the sky, and people are going to people are going to steal the actual thing. The dumbest thing I have ever seen. There's no qualification to that. It is literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Do you know?
I laughed out loud when I saw Jeff Bezos was going to be on 60 Minutes because I think it must have been on football, the commercial during football. And I made a point of recording it because because I'm interested in Amazon. I'm curious about, and they did talk a little bit about the Kindle business, about AWS and so forth. And then they brought that out and I was like, oh, this guy, he is an evil genius. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And you could, in fact, let's do it right now. You could go to the technology part of Google News, and these are the stories. What if an Amazon delivery drone crashes into me? And 6 other key questions. Hey, Nidhi, here's a heads up. That is not a key question. Okay? Not a key question. Amazon Prime Air delivery by drones could arrive as early as 2015. Nope. It's not going to happen. Amazon's Jeff Bezos looks to the future. Yeah, he was looking one day ahead, I think is what he was looking. One day. So technically the future. This whole thing, it's so freaking stupid. Like that anyone fell for this and Charlie Rose.
Yeah, Charlie
right?
Rose. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? He has got to be one of the most credible journalists of our generation, not my generation. He's a lot older than I am, but today,
Currently,
around today.
yeah.
Are you kidding me? He acted like he was a kid on Christmas. Like this makes plenty of sense. Guys,
Well, here's the thing, okay? If you are in a rural area, I could see it working. I could see it working, but I do not see this working in a populated, dense area. What I can see happening is that they have these drones that deliver to delivery services, like the post office, where they deliver to the post office and the post office brings it to you.
It's impossible to know how things are going to go with the drones, but there are already calls for regulating this type of behavior. I mean, it's not hard to imagine drones flying around some suburban neighborhood, hovering outside of a window, looking in the window, recording what's going on in there. I mean, this stuff is just not. It's just not going to be allowed.
But
like
how are they going to? First of all, the FAA needs to approve this thing. And the FAA just allowed cell phones to be, devices to be on planes.
Are you suggesting they're not the quickest moving
after 20 years
regulatory agency?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm suggesting here, but I'm trying to figure out a way where A, people don't get hurt, and B, people aren't stealing your packages and they're not stealing these drones. What if I'm just a psychopath that lives across the street and now you have a delivery and I see this drone, I'm just taking a bat to it?
Right.
I mean,
oh, this will happen if the drone thing ever happened. It's like saying, what if they allowed you to make a phone call on a plane? I can tell you what's going to happen. Violence is going to happen. It will happen. And you will see cell phone videos that people are going to take of some passenger going to town on some other passenger because they wouldn't shut the hell up for an entire cross-continental flight or whatever it was because they would jab into someone about something stupid.
Is it cool, Paul? Absolutely. Is it cool that I could potentially get my package within 30 minutes? I think it's a cool thing.
No. So there was a line in the show, and I'm going to just paraphrase because I obviously don't have a photographic memory, but something along the lines of, it's a lot more efficient to send one of these drones out than it is to send a truck from the warehouse. Yeah, except a truck from the warehouse doesn't have a package on it. It's a diesel vehicle that has lots of packages on it. Companies like FedEx and UPS and even the post office have figured out how to efficiently deliver stuff. And so same-day delivery is just another nuance on top of the stuff that these guys have already been doing. Sending a drone out to deliver one package to one place and then fly all the way back and get another package and then go one more out. I'm sorry. Actually, as it turns out, probably not more efficient. And so look.
Also, I mean, there has to be...
Cars are not perfect, trucks are not perfect, that kind of thing.
They have to have operators, right? They have to have drone operators.
Oh, that's what I hope. I hope to God that there's someone in a control room, like a military thing, and they're actually remote piloting the drones.
That's what I'm imagining. No, they have to have operators. Like a delivery version of Ender's Game. No, because it's too much of a liability to have the thing automated, right? Through GPS. I mean, it's inaccurate. Someone has to monitor what's happening. You got to train
these things
people.
Are going to... I'm sorry. People are going to hijack these things. They're going to capture them. They're going to break them. This is what people do.
I would grab one. If I saw one flying and delivering, I'm going to grab that thing and take it with me.
The hell is this thing flying around my yard? That's we're going to get into personal airspace issues. Actually, as it turns out, once you're flying over my property, you are my property.
I don't know. What's fascinating to me is that the whole concept behind this is not the cool technology, but they want to kill delivery time. They want it to be as quick as possible because...
By the way, yep, got it.
And that's what they want to do. And that's great. I mean, they're doing Sunday delivery now. They're able to...
same-day delivery.
Same-day delivery in certain cities.
For anything. It's enough for anything. And if Amazon's goal is, I want to prevent you from getting out of your chair, getting in the car and driving someplace that has it locally, if that's their end game, something tells me they're going to be able to do that by and large for a lot of places, and that's going to be fine. And that your expectations will change according to where you are. Like someone who lives outside of Boston, like I do, might expect same-day delivery, just like right now I do expect next day or second day for most packages from Amazon. But if I lived in rural Vermont, or out in the middle of, I don't know, Nebraska or somewhere that wasn't anywhere near a major population center, I wouldn't expect that because I can't get in my car and drive to a Best Buy or whatever, you know? So I don't, this is some illogical end dream that just doesn't need to happen. It's ridiculous.
I think it's a cool concept. I do think it's a cool concept that you can get the package within 30 minutes, but I just don't see it logically working.
Right? I like that they think crazy. I like that this company that already dominates online retailing is always looking to the future. I like that. I mean, a lot of companies get very comfortable and they stop innovating and all that. And I give them credit for that. But honestly, the biggest innovation in this whole idea was how they were able to manipulate the media into pretending that this was like something that was going to happen. It's like a...
I mean, the reality, I highly doubt we're going to see this. I mean, there's a very low chance that we're going to see this happen. I really don't see it happening. But who knows? Maybe we're wrong, Paul. We were both wrong about the iPad.
Yeah. Sure.
This is just another iPad incident, Paul.
Anytime you voice an opinion, you risk the possibility that you're wrong, of course. But I just think...
if you could get next day delivery in major cities, I think that's a real good step forward.
Well, next day is already there.
Next day's there, yeah, absolutely. But same day. Let's say you order at 7, you get it by 3.
Yep, right. And that's the thing. So same day delivery is the next step. And so for Amazon, like for example, you pay. I think you do too, right? You pay for Amazon Prime.
I do, yeah.
And so not everything, but almost everything you get second day for free, so to speak. And then if you want to get next day, you can pay $3.99. And what's always amazed me about the next day thing is that it's $3.99 no matter what you get. Like a CD next day is $3.99, but if I bought some huge item, whatever it might be, next day $3.99. Like that's to me that's going to have to change. And then same day delivery is obviously going to have to cost even more, and it should be expensive, right? I mean, and God, what kind of like Roman Empire fall of times kind of thing are we getting into where we have to get stuff that day? Like how lazy and needy and exceptional do we think we are?
I mean, this is their way of competing with the big box stores, which in reality they're killing them because the pricing. First of all, there's no overhead for retail space, but it is unbelievable that I could order something now and I could have it in 24 hours.
Taking something down.
It's actually less than 24 hours, Paul. I think if I order something at 7 o'clock at night, I'll get it the following day at noon. So it's less than 24 hours. I could get whatever I want.
It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So if I go to Amazon and I'm like, I want to get a Kindle, and I want to get my Kindle tomorrow, is that like even possible? And wow, there's some crazy. What just happened? I'm on some smile.amazon thing. All right, let me go to find a Kindle. I don't know. Now I'm contorting this to be complicated. So if I tried to order this thing, let's see what it says. Proceed to checkout. Can I get it tomorrow? Yep, I can. $3.99. Get it tomorrow. Doesn't have any time. Actually, yeah. If I order it in the next 4 hours and 58 minutes, so 5 hours. So up until 9 o'clock at night, I could order this thing and have it tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Now, because of the UPS, for me, that means 7 o'clock at night tomorrow. But for you, maybe it would be whenever UPS delivers.
Yeah, I get mine generally around noon. So I could order at 9 o'clock and get it the following day at noon, which is unbelievable. 16 hours.
So I'm sorry, is that not amazing enough? It's like we're like Jabba the Hutt sitting here with our finger on a mouse. I need the Kindle tomorrow. $3.99. God, it's so...
Paul, I lost my mind. I couldn't get next day delivery on this thing. It was a 2-day delivery with Thanksgiving, so it took 3 days. I was losing my mind for 2 days. I was so angry I couldn't get this phone.
Yeah,
I've gotten used to it. I get everything now.
One of the many devices I bought this fall was that iPad Mini with Retina display, and you remember that they kind of secretively all of a sudden went up for sale, and so I ordered one and. You get this shipment notification from Apple, and it says, it's leaving some crazy place in China. And then you can keep going back to the shipment log and you can see where it's going. And it's like crazy place in China. Now it's in some other crazy place in China. And then it's in some other crazy place in China. And then it's in Hong Kong. And then there's a period of time where you don't know where it is. And I guess it's flying across the ocean or something. And then it shows up in some transport facility in Fremont, California or something.
Alaska. It goes to Alaska.
Alaska. Okay. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, this thing has a more extensive travel history than most people who live in the United States, and we can kind of follow it as it travels around the planet to arrive on your doorstep, hand delivered by some UPS guy.
You know what I would love? And I'm sure, again, there's a liability there. I would love to see where my package is. Like, okay, it's out for delivery, but where is it?
Like every pallet of items could have a camera on it, and you could actually see it sitting in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Right? People would love that.
I would sit there and just stare at it all day.
What? Seriously, I don't know. Can we just get on with life? I mean, this stuff is so disturbing to me that we need this kind of coddling. It's like, it's a device.
I want to sit there and just stare at the boxes until John picks my package.
There with its other boxed items. The Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Hey, let's talk about this, Paul. The Google Wallet card.
Yeah. What's going on with that?
So there's a company called Coin that about 2 weeks ago they put out a video and they're taking in pre-orders for this thing. So pretty much what you do, you get a credit card from this company and you preload all your credit card information. So whatever card you have, whatever gift card, whatever credit card, whatever, I guess, what do they call those? Incentive cards like GNC. You preload all this thing into this card via your phone. Then whenever you're ready to use it, you pick which card you want to use and you click on it and there you go. This thing becomes a universal credit card. Google saw that video and I guess they were working on it or they panicked where they had the idea and they want to kind of be the first one to do this. They released Google Wallet. It's a MasterCard. So on the back, I'm going to hold it up like this. There's a MasterCard logo and it has a credit card strip and you could just use it as a credit card. But it's almost like they released this thing without putting the finishing touches on it. So you could only use whatever is in your Google Wallet. So in order to use this card, you have to transfer money from any of the cards or the bank accounts that are associated to your Google Wallet. I imagine the future of this device is, I'm going to have this card in my pocket. Okay, I'm at the bar. I don't want to use my Amex. I want to use my Citibank, debit card. Okay, click on that, and now it's that card. That's the future of this device, but you cannot do that right now. You could only use whatever's in your Google Wallet. So it is identical to a PayPal card. It's just a debit card. There's nothing behind it. So I was a little disappointed by that.
That's okay. That's kind of surprising.
I'm guessing they weren't ready to push this thing out.
Right.
And they just did it to kind of be the first one to market with something like this. But it is a cool idea. I absolutely love the idea that I don't have to carry 4 or 5 credit cards on me and I can't use this thing without my phone. So if I lose my credit card, there's no problem. And it's free. That's the crazy part too. It's absolutely free. And they're not charging you any transaction fees right now to purchase anything with it. I like it, Paul.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I just don't think it's executed well right now because they haven't, gone through the process of letting this thing work the way it's supposed to. It expires interestingly enough, it expires in 2020. So it's a long expiration date on this card. But I find it funny how they just process this thing instantly. I mean, like I signed up in 10 days, I got it.
Right.
The card is issued by Bancorp Bank. Don't know who that is.
From the Cayman Islands?
Yeah, Bancorp. What is Bancorp Bank? Let's see. Bancorp Bank. Founded in 2000. There's a guy doing some touching stuff on a screen. I've never heard of these guys. Where are they located? Contact us. Oh, there's an 800 number. That's it. Interesting. So, I don't know. I think it's a cool concept. It's just not ready. But Do you think something like that is going to be the future of payments?
Well, no, I mean, the future payment's not going to be a card. It's just going to be something akin to whatever we have on our phones now that, you'll have an NFC thing. There'll be all different ways to pay for things, but you'll basically have this single account that you could go through Microsoft because Microsoft has payment types associated with it. Microsoft account, Google does it, obviously, with Google Wallet. Apple, well, actually, I'm not sure. Apple doesn't really do it generally, but Apple does it for their own stuff. You can see that kind of be in the future. I mean, I think a card is one way, but this should be, you can almost picture like two-step authentication, like you thumbprint and then type in a code from your phone or, whatever. I mean, this is probably going to be all kinds of different ways to do it.
Before we wrap up, Paul, there was a story about Threshold.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into that? Because I know if we don't talk about it, I'm going to get an email saying, how did you not ask Paul about this?
I mean, it's kind of an evolving story. I mean, Mary Jo Foley came up with the original, and then I wrote a kind of a follow-up where I just provided some of my own thoughts about it. But then since then, actually, Mary Jo's written another story where she provides further perspective on it. But I think the short version is that most people know that there was sort of a Windows 8 wave of products. Windows 8 didn't really have a code name. But there was there was a version of Server and some other products that were, Office 2013 and so forth, that were all released as part of that wave. And then to follow up on that, they're moving to this rapid release cycle. And so there was the blue wave of products, which we're actually still in the middle of. Windows Phone Blue, which will be Windows Phone 8.1, won't ship until the spring. And so apparently Threshold is what comes after Blue. And so it's what we might think of as Windows 8.2 or whatever. And it's going to be different updates that will bring several products functionally closer together. So Windows 8, Windows RT, Windows Phone, and Xbox One, interestingly. So now that Xbox One is out, it becomes part of this wave of products as well. And so I think this is just common sense on my part, not any insider knowledge, but I believe that Threshold, the name, is an indication that with this release, they'll be on the threshold, if you will, of bringing those products closer together from a technical perspective, because one of the goals is to consolidate the Windows OSs down to fewer releases and to make the technical underpinnings, and thus the APIs and SDKs and developer tools and all that kind of stuff closer together as well. And
is there any information as far as any kind of the user experience, any kind of changes coming to that? Because
nothing specific, but more generally, just making the user experience across these products more similar to each other. And so, a couple of things I would just point out just quickly off the top of my head. Xbox One is actually based on Windows 8, not Windows 8.1. And so, for example, like you can snap apps on it like you could in Windows 8, but not like you can now in Windows 8.1, meaning the snapped app takes up a very small part of the screen. I would imagine they would want you to be able to snap them in different ways and maybe have a 50-50 split or whatever. So I expect that kind of thing to happen. In Windows Phone versus Windows 8 today, Windows Phone, all of the tiles are the same color. You have kind of a color scheme. That's what they do actually on Xbox One as well. But Windows 8, all the apps have different colors. And so these are kind of like these little things that Microsoft talks about having one user experience, but when you actually look at them and use them, they're a little different. And I think they're going to try to bring stuff like that closer together, however they choose to, whatever direction they go in, and make these things just look and work more like each other, even if underneath they're not the same exact thing.
Yeah,
just make the user experiences closer together.
Well, they're already working on it, so we'll get. Yep. I'm sure we'll get more information in the new year with this, and
yep.
I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, if this is 8.2, if that's what they're going to call it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what they're actually going to call it? But yeah,
I'm just more concerned with desktop. What's going to happen to desktop? And I think a lot of people are concerned with desktop.
I think desktop is going to stick around where it makes sense, and it's not going to stick around where it doesn't make any sense. And so,
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
Excellent. All right, Paul, time to wrap it up. That was a fun show. We ranted, we raved, we spoke about drones, flying.
It was the best of episodes.
It was the worst of episodes. So we spoke about how I hate the camera on the phone. We spoke about possibly Amazon delivering you your toilet paper with a drone. And a lot of other stuff. We spoke about the flu. I think it was a very
kind of all over
show.
Really, when you think about it.
I can't wait. One roll of toilet tissue, just this drone delivering it. Here you go, Andrew. Thanks a lot. 30 minutes. I was in an emergency. I needed it right now. I had no toilet tissue. Hey, guys, go to our website, gfknetwork.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, you could do it there. We're also available everywhere podcasts are available. Subscribe to us there. WinSupersite.com for all things Paul Thurrott and Windows. Also, Paul's new book is out. Paul, can you let people know where they could check it out and how they could purchase it?
Yeah, it's in progress still, so it's probably I'd say it's about the third done right now. But I'm working on a Windows 8.1 book with Rafael Rivera, and you can find that at windows81book.com. And we're asking it's just $2 for it. Eventually, there'll be versions for Kindle and for Nook. And you can specify a different price. If you don't want to pay for it, you don't have to pay for it. If you want to pay more, you can pay more, that kind of thing. So, we have a special website for that. I try to update it more than once a week, although, like, I was sick last week, so didn't do so great last week. But we'll get that kicking again very soon.
I bought it and I paid $20 because I think it's worth more than that. That was I paid $20.
I have to say, I've been surprised how many people have paid more, and that's.
I got an email from a guy that paid $100 for it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. That really is.
That's nice. I mean, I know from I did the Windows phone book for free, and people would write me really regularly and say, look, you should have a tip jar or some kind of thing. And I think there's certain people that feel like they've wanted to pay for this kind of thing for some time or whatever, and it's nice. I mean, I really do appreciate that kind of thing. I mean, I feel weird asking for money. I shouldn't. I mean, I'm not a charity or whatever, but it's kind of it's a tough leap for me. I've never really liked asking for stuff, but
go ahead.
Well,
go and do it.
You can look at Windows Phone Book and you can see how that came out and get an understanding of where the Windows 8.1 book's going to go. So
excellent. And of course, Windows Weekly this Thursday on the Twit Network, 2 p.m. East with Mary Jo Foley and of course Leah Laporte. You guys do a phenomenal show. One of my favorite shows to listen to is Windows Weekly. I listen every week. And that's it, guys. We're done. We're finished. We'll see you all next week on What the Tech. Good night, everybody.